Hey everyone, my name's Brandon Griffin. I'm an assistant professor of management and I run this YouTube channel, Brandon Griffin PhD, where I interview academics about the cool work that they are doing. But I've decided I want to take a small shift in the videos I'm doing, the interviews I'm doing, the content I'm producing. So I started out by making a lot of software tutorials and lectures for some of the classes I was teaching, some of the software I was using, some of the problems I had in my PhD program, how I overcame them, whether it be software wise or just surviving a PhD program. But I want to move my channel more towards stories. And what do I mean by that? I still want to interview academics, I still want to interview business owners, but I want to do so more through the lens of the stories that they're telling. So in the classroom, it's all about practical experience. That's what I teach my students. It's all about the practical, applied knowledge that they're gaining from the classes that they take. When we talk about an academic paper, some of the most important contributions are the practical contributions. So that is, okay, we've talked about it in terms of the literature, we've ran experiments, we've done these tests, we've done these surveys. What does it mean within the context of, the real world or outside the classroom? And that's something I want to do. So I want my podcast to focus less on academics and more about the story behind the work. And I want listeners to connect more deeply when guests share real experiences. So if someone's talking about abusive supervision in the workplace, why did they decide to study that? Was it because they thought it was interesting in the literature, or did they have personal experiences with an abusive supervisor? The academic side will still be there, but I want it to be more as a context surrounding this conversation rather than just the center of the conversation. Now, there will be times when I center things academically, whether that be through a lecture, whether that be through some tutorial that I'm doing, but through my interviews specifically, and maybe some more of the content I'm producing, I want there to be more of the stories, because I think people need to hear the human side of research and of leadership and of business, the setbacks, the surprises, the lessons, what went good, what went bad. But ultimately, I think it'll be a lot more interesting and a lot more impactful. Not that the research isn't amazing and not that the research isn't something that needs to be done, but just to frame that academic research, just to frame the conversations I'm having in terms of practical real world impact. Because ultimately, good scholarship is going to live within the stories that are being told. Because if I'm reading an academic journal article, the ones that are going to be most powerful and impactful to me as a scholar are going to be the ones that I have real world or real life experience with. So I want the data to explain the theories, but I want the stories to make the lessons stick. So my goal is to make research about management and leadership feel personal and practical, not just purely theoretical. And that's something I try to do in my classes. So instead of having people tell me about their theories or having them tell me about their paper, I want them to tell me what made you write it, what made you decide to explore this idea. Because a lot of the research that people do is very impactful, is very important. But a lot of times, I think as academics, we can get so focused on the literature review, so focused on the methodology, so focused on the data analysis, so focused on writing the conclusions, that we forget that this has real world scholarly impact. So there's been a couple changes on my channel recently. I've interviewed people outside the confines of the business world. I interviewed an American historian on a religious leader of the 19th century, and it started out framing it as, what does this person, what were their business and leadership attributes, and it kind of just turned into a discussion of that person and leadership and history. So I just want to have people tell me their cool, their interesting stories, whether that be business psychology related, or whether that just expand more broadly into anything you're interested in, anything I'm interested in. Because I think the work that people do is very interesting, it's very important, it's very impactful. But ultimately, I want to hear that within the context of the story, within the context of why they are doing something. So with my channel, with the videos that I make going forward, I want to place a greater emphasis on the stories that are being told. So if this is your first time listening, Hey, I'm Brandon. Thanks for listening. If you've been a listener for a long time, I really appreciate it. But I just want to explore the cool work that people are doing. I want to explore the stories that people have, and I want to figure out how we can make life better and happier, and how we can help people ultimately succeed in whatever they're doing, whether that be research, whether that be work, whether that be purely just trying to survive day to day. Because that's something that I'm passionate about and something that I want to do. So I really appreciate you watching. I really appreciate you listening. My motto, what I end every video with is happy learning, and that's because I want learning to be happy. I want people to learn about all the cool nerdy stuff that I'm interested in and do so in a way that's happy and uplifting and motivating. So I want to do that with the stories that people ultimately tell and the stories that people ultimately share. So thanks so much for tuning in, but you have a great day. Happy learning. See you next time.